I'm having my one.
Welcome to the I'm Having My One podcast. This is one of the first of our new episode formats, and we've got a great one for you this time. Today, we're speaking with Lee and Mike from Molinarius Games about some of their projects and how they got started and what's coming for them in 2025. Okay, we are delighted to welcome Lee and Mike to the podcast from Molinarius Games. Welcome, guys. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'll go first then. So my name's Lee from Molinarius. I'm co-founder, and yeah, we've been working on Molinarius games for the last 4.5 years.
Very nice.
Hi there, I'm Mike. I am now newly director of family games at Molinarius Games. I also designed Shoal and our new game Flippers.
Very nice. Which I just actually noticed, Mike, over your what I think is going to be your right shoulder in the background there. I didn't pick up on that straight away. Nicely done. Well done. Well done.
No.
We'll use that at least for a screenshot or something. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining us on this episode this evening. Thank you so much for doing this. To get us started, tell us a bit about Molinarius Games, what you're all about essentially, and what makes a Molinarius game.
Okay, so I'll start. So yeah, we founded about 4.5 years ago, as I said. Passion for games. Very small family company, independent publishers. We started with a game called The Lakes Game, which is a very small card game about the Lake District, which we love. And fast forward 4 years, that's now in supermarkets and board game shops and everything else, and does very well for us as gifts and presents in the Lake District. And so we foolishly thought, yeah, let's make another game. And we made a game called Ocean Pods, where we donated some of our profits to ocean generation and to marine biology charities. And then we kind of got the bug from there. So that's when we decided to stop becoming kind of part-time independent publishers and doing these small Kickstarters. And we approached Mike, who, funnily enough, came to visit us on our stand at UK Games Expo and pitched us a game. And then 1 year later, he was on that stand selling his game. So that's quite a cool story. And yeah, Mike joined us as the director of family games and is very much our kind of lead games designer now for what is our blue division. So we've over the last year split the company in half. So Mike takes the lead and does the family games like Flippers and Ocean Pods and Shoal. And another guy, Mark, and myself are working on what we call the meatier games, the gamer games, like Time Troopers, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Definitely will.
So yeah, we're kind of growing at a fast rate, and we're up to 5 or 6 games now. We've had our first licensing deal last year where we brought Cake of Doom on board, and yeah, watch your space. Maybe a couple more coming on board in the next 6 months or so. So yeah, we're growing quite fast, and we love it. It's still a hobby to us. It's still our second jobs, if you like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we've come in those 4 years.
It's amazing though. Well done for taking the plunge and doing that. It sounds like you've had quite a lot of progress over quite a short space of time. I'm sure for you guys, you'll feel like, yeah, it's been an absolute ton of work to get to that point, right? But but it's amazing. Good for you to have the confidence and have a go.
Yeah, I'd say we've made more mistakes than we have got things right to start with, because there's no school you can go to or kind of to learn this stuff from beginning to end. And I think Mike might have some great insights because kind of he plunged head first into this, and then with Flippers especially, I've kind of just left Mike to it and said, right, this is your sink or swim, go.
And so for you, Mike, then is it the simpler sort of games, the family games, if you will? Then is that what you just had a passion for? Is that what your gaming was all about prior to starting with Shoal and onto Flippers?
Yeah, I would say a big draw for board games for myself is that a small box, big game. I want to get a lot out of that because I do have a few big games and they take up a lot of space. And unfortunately, they don't get to the table as often as my smaller games, or they don't get to the table as often as I'd like.
Yeah.
So definitely when I had the idea for a game, I knew that I wanted it to be as approachable and as replayable, I suppose, as it could be. That I feel like that's the sweet spot for me.
And those can absolutely be some of the best games nights. I meet with some mates every Wednesday night, and we had last week a kind of small box game night, and those are some of the best. Right? Is that when you because you just get a variety, right? If nothing
Yeah.
else, you're able to play a number of things, or maybe you play the same thing twice, whatever. It's really tempting to always go, right, I've got this big game. Maybe it's new to you. You want, get into the meaty stuff, but actually, the small box game nights are some of the best ones, I think.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And the more I got into the hobby, I was like, "What do you mean a warm-up game?" And then there's definitely some nights where we would finish the big game, and then we would have another game of the warm-up game, just to end the night. And the amount of laughter that we would have from that, even though it was the build-up and the come down from the big event to the night. Yeah, that's definitely stayed with me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. And what made you kind of take that move from being a player of those sorts of games to having, again, go back to the confidence, if you like. I think many of us have a little idea, a kernel of something in our head, thinking, "Oh, I could maybe do something with that," but having the confidence to go, right, I'm going to do something with this. What was that?
For me, I suppose it was equal parts frustration and fascination of when I would bring games to my friends or my family, and it's a game that I really like, and I try and teach it, and they go, "So one more time, what do I do in my turn?" Or I'm like, "Dad, put that piece down. You don't move that piece yet." Whatever it might be. And I was like, there's got to be a solution for this. But instead of scrolling through the internet and try and find the best one out there, I was like, you know what? I'll have a crack at this. Why not? At the time when Shoal was just an idea, I thought, I've nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Why not? And
Yeah.
you know, it was scraps of paper for a long time, and this was coming to the end of 2020 now. So, it's on and off out of COVID.
Mm.
So all I had to invest in it was time and scraps of paper. So yeah.
Well, I wonder, it's just for so many people, I think, that we've spoken to since doing this podcast is that time that we all had at home to basically think about stuff, right? It's just created that space for people to have these genius ideas. And,
Mm.
before, we're getting to Shoal in a minute, I definitely want to go into that a bit more. But I think really important question that I always want to ask any game designers and people such as yourselves involved in the industry as you are is, do you actually ever still have any time for gaming, or is your life totally occupied, both of you, with the industry of creating and running the business now?
For me, I would say the joy I had at the start of the hobby from discovering new games, I enjoy just as much as discovering how to make new games, how to
Right.
make new mechanics. Or what if we borrowed this from this and this from this, and then what if we put this kind of art style on it? Like how does this component of this mechanic and this art style, how does that kind of speak to this audience or this audience?
Right.
That kind of aspect of it, I enjoy just as much as being like, right, teach me this game. What is this game all about? And then discovering and learning those mechanics. I feel like I enjoy them equal parts, but I don't play as many games as often now as I used
Right.
to.
Time, surely, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And for you, Lee, is it just kind of feel the same that it's almost, as important, not putting words into your mouth there, Mike, but like the important part of doing what you guys do is to kind of learn what else is out there and that side of things as well.
Well, I think it's important. Why do you like gaming? So for me, it was I took the step from kind of getting really invested in games and playing big box games and having games nights once a week, as part of the fact that I worked a corporate job and worked long hours, and I was traveling quite a lot, and I was based in the US for a few months and then home. So I kind of lost contact with friends. So being able to close that laptop screen and deal cards and sit face to face with people and engage with people is something which is important to me, because obviously you're reconnecting with people and you're chit-chatting about your day and your week. And it's, even people who've got social anxiety, because you're focused on the game, you don't realize that you're engaging with other people face to face. So
Oh, for
that
sure.
side, that connection with other people was something which I was lacking, because I was in front of a laptop screen for 40 hours a week, and then on a plane for another 40 hours a week. So for me, that I love playing games, so I play quite a lot. Mark, who's the other co-founder, doesn't live too far from me, and we meet every Sunday with a couple of other people who work for the company. And so Sunday night is our games night, and sometimes we take it seriously. We had a league table at one point of
Did you?
yeah.
Hello,
So
hello. There you go.
so
Oh, I'm in. I'm in.
so we all picked 4 games at the start of the year, and then we would play 2 of those games on games night, and then you'd get a point for finishing first and 2 for second, and whoever had the least points at the end of the year. So yeah, it got quite competitive. But then we would have small games night, like you said, where we would each take 2 small games, and then they were always the best nights, because everyone knew the rules. There was no kind of kingmaker. You were just playing for fun,
Sure.
because they were small, fast games.
Yeah.
So I'm quite lucky that I can switch my brain off and appreciate the game for what it is without diving into the mechanics. For me, it's the escapism and the fun is still there.
Yeah.
But then every now and again, I will, same as Mike, I will come away from a game going, I'll just make a note of who this artist is, or I'll just, or I really like these components, but if it did this, it would be better. Like,
Right.
I don't know if you've played Lord of the Rings Duel, which is a fairly new game that's come out. They have this fantastic little slider where the rider is chasing after Frodo with the ring.
Right.
And I've never seen that component mechanic before. And
It's
instantly
great, right?
yeah. So yeah, I game a lot,
Yeah.
but what I don't do is play my own games as much as I used to, the ones that we've designed, because as Mike will testify, if you do 130 demos at UK Games Expo, the last thing you want to do the following week is sit down and play your own game.
Yeah, I bet. A bit of time away, a bit of distance, I'm sure is appreciated. So getting on to Shoal, Mike, this came out last year, I believe, right? And
Yes.
just tell us a bit about it. You were saying it's scraps of paper at one stage, but what took you from those scraps of paper, or even before that, to what is now, I think, a very good little game.
Oh, thank you very much. It started off all from itself was a component of a far bigger game that I had planned
Ah,
of resource management. So you would gain a resource card, and it was going to be either flint, wood, or metal, or scales, or whatever it might be. And then when you draw another resource card, you have to cover up your previous card. So then you had to sacrifice some resources to gain more of another, knowing that full well if you was to gain another card, then you would have to cover up another piece of it. So it all kind of built from there, but it was a bit too ambitious. And then I kind of fell in love with that one mechanic.
yeah,
And I thought that in itself is a bit approachable. So it went from there, then it was building a shell for hermit crabs, and then it all through organizing the cards, it then kind of naturally fit for me for fish coming in and fish coming out. And then as you were pulling fish in as they were swimming by to, like, as it was like entertaining your reef or building up your shoal. So then it became a bit of a puzzle. And that was something for me, it either works or it doesn't. So having that binary bit gave me a bit of a corridor, I suppose, to work in. And throughout the game design, you've got to break it and break it and break it until it can't break anymore.
Right.
And then at the end of it, you've got to go, was this any fun? Like, now I've got something that doesn't break. You got to put yourself back in it to think, am I still enjoying this? But then, yeah, I wanted the variety, so then in came the different sizes and shapes and patterns of fish, but I wanted the fish to be easily recognizable, so just triangles, squares, circles, and rectangles, so they were easily identifiable for all audiences. And then, yeah, as I said previously, I knew that I wanted to make a game that filled that gap, that I could bring to anyone, any audience, and for it to be approachable, and that I could teach in 5 minutes, and that you could get so much game out of it.
Yeah.
I
And
yeah wanted a game that I could show family, but then myself being a bit more of a gamer, I could still get a bit of a kick. It still had a bit more crunch to it as well. So
right, and I was going to say that it's a game I've played quite a bit now, and as a family, I have a couple of kids. One's 6, who's starting to get into doing a bit of gaming now, and she loves it. The simplicity is fantastic, and it's one of those games that I think is great to. Well, I found it great anyway to kind of bring her into the hobby, my daughter, and partly that is the simplicity and the artwork that maybe we'll come back to in a second. However, I kind of don't want it to sound to anybody listening who hasn't played it, right, that it's a very basic game. I don't think it
yes,
is.
yeah.
I think the variety of the scoring bonuses that you've got in there, for one thing, kind of adds a lot of replayability to the game as well. Right. How important was that? Expanding on the point you're making, like how important was it to make sure that it did have that kind of depth? Is that as you said, your inner big box gamer was kind of coming out to make sure that you did that? Is that where it came from?
Yes, I would say I feel that Phil Walker Harding is a big inspiration, and when I was able to take Sushi Go Party to an audience,
Sure.
seeing how easy that was to pick up and play, and people would enjoy it, and that was just passing cards around and put it in front of you. That's the game, and then you would score off of that. So having that key simplicity and the variety of gold cards in Shoal in my head, I treated them like set menus that you would set up in Sushi Go. But without you didn't have to shuffle them, you didn't have to deal them out. They just put a card down and oh, there you
Yeah.
are. Yeah, you're already set up for the game. But no, knowing that it was going to be a quick to play, I knew that I wanted that variety, that replayability. So if you did play a game in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you could easily shuffle the cards again, deal a new gold card out, and you're away.
Completely.
You're off to go again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when Mike pitched the game to us as publishers. We'd got Ocean Pods and Lakes under our belt, and kind of the key phrase we kept saying was it has to be accessible and it has to be fun because that's what our family brand is. And you hit the nail on the head, Tom. There, Tom, is there's only 4 rules in Shoal, and we've written them around the outside of the box. And once you get
Right.
those 4 rules, it's really easy to learn. But then, as you said, it's hard to master because the strategy element keeps coming into play. And that's kind of it's really easy to make a game, but it's really hard to make a game with these are the rules that we want from our games. We want it to be accessible. We want kind of, as you said, it'll be the opening game of a games night or the end game of a games night, or you'll play 5 or 6 games with your family. And that was kind of the market we were going for with our Blue division of family games. And so when Mike pitched Shoal to us, and I'll also, I hate saying this in front of Mike because he gets a big head. But when he pitched it to us and gave us his sell sheet and everything else, it was by far the kind of most detailed, the most prepared. It wasn't scraps of paper when he showed it to us. He'd done the artwork and everything else. So kind of it was really difficult for us to find any flaws with the game whatsoever. We sat down with Mike to go, okay, here's what we'd like to change. We'd only like to put 4 rules around the outside of the box, and that's it. It's ready to go. Let's print it. So it was a perfect marriage, and that's why we snapped Mike up because Flippers is exactly the same as well.
Yeah.
Do you get many people pitching to you at expos and other events?
We do. We get about. It's not so much at expos. Well, I probably get between 12 and 20 a day.
Wow.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it does seem like
Yeah. So you'll get sell sheets, and unfortunately, because I love games, and because Mike's been there and I've been there, I always feel as if I have to review the games and everything else. And sometimes you just can't because I'm in the middle of a demo. So I'll take a sell sheet and call. But I've called or spoken or emailed every single person back that's given us a sell sheet, because 99% of the games I look at them and go, this is brilliant. This is fantastic, and we have such a plethora of talented indie game designers in the UK as well. I mean, I'm in a group called Board Game Proto Hype. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. And there's tons of guys in there who are designing games and looking for publishers.
Right.
And at least once a week, I'm like, yeah, I need to snap these up because these games are really good. But obviously, we're a small company. We only have a finite amount of resources, so we can't take all these games on. But I've seen games which we've passed on because it wasn't the right time for us. But I've said to people, this is a great game. And then 6 months later, another publisher's picked it up. And I know, and it's gone on to be a success because I know it is. So it's not just the right game. I think it's also finding the right publisher, because there'd be no point us like Shoal was great because it's what we were looking for. But if someone brought us, when Mike brought us a 700-hour campaign game that wouldn't have fit in with our target audience. And what's great now is the same people who bought Ocean Pods came back to buy Shoal, and now hopefully the same people who have bought those games will come back for Flippers, because you know what you're getting from that brand and from Mike as a designer and from us as a company, which is that accessibility. So I think now what we're starting to see, to answer your question, Paul, is I'm starting to see less pitches to us, but the pitches we are seeing to us are in that mold because they're tailoring their pitches to the games that they think we would pick up.
Yes. Okay.
And
does having a water theme?
I was going to say, as long as it's got water in it.
It's not compulsory. It just seems to have happened that way. Yeah.
I was wondering, is that where the blue, the blue side of
that is where the blue came. That is where the blue came in. And we did have I think it was called the Aqua Bundle, was it, Mike? We had on sale
that's right,
last year, which was one of each game.
The marketing writes itself, doesn't it? Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not compulsory. It doesn't have to be water or nature based, but I think once we were looking for a theme for Mike's mechanic for this game. I don't know why. I can't remember how we settled on penguins and seals, but it just, the theme and the mechanics, if you get them right, then it just gels so perfectly. We've all played games where you feel like you're just doing something and the skin or the theme doesn't really do anything, and then vice versa, where you've bought a game because the IP is fantastic and you love it. Like, not pointing any fingers, but like some Star Wars games that are out there, but then there's not really much of a game to it, but you just love the IP, and so I think we've been quite lucky that we've taken our time and made sure that the theme and the mechanics overlap quite well. And Mike's done a great job with that.
Yeah, thank you.
And a very good time to move on to talk about Flippers then, right? So this is on Kickstarter now, and at time of recording, just a very quick look. I see you're now double your funding goal. Congratulations on that. That's brilliant. Well done. I'm sure. Are you looking like almost every hour, or are you beyond that now, where you're not checking, maybe every 5 minutes? I don't know, but congrats on that.
Thank you.
Still a bit of time to go that we'll come back to, but tell us a bit about it and the campaign that you're running right now on Kickstarter, if you don't mind.
So Flippers is the aim of Flippers is to build up your own chain of events by playing Explorer cards in the center of the table. You will be playing your explorers to fight over a central crate of food that will award points at the end of the game. The trick is when you play cards, you activate the power on that card. It could be to push another card out the way, flip another card over, or spin it around. And then you have to activate all your other face-up cards. So slowly, the more cards you add in, the more of a juggling act and chain of events you're creating on every turn. So it starts off very easy, very simple, and then before you know it, your master plan has changed from plan B, C, D, and then your final turn, you're going, right, how can I make the best out of this situation? So again, it's well, in a similar vein to Shoal, easy to teach, very approachable, but different in the aspect of shoal. Everyone's building their own individual shoal, and then you compare at the end. There could be some hate drafting in between it, but Flippers is very much everyone is in the game together in the center of the table and kind of elbows out, get out of my way. I'm going to do this to you, do that. And before you know it, your own cards have turned against you, and you give yourself -2 points when you should have been +1 in. And so it's a bit more bombastic was the aim of it.
Yeah, there's a bit more going on. Like the games table clearly change as it is going around so quickly, right?
Yes.
Um, so yeah, very interesting kind of step up from Shoal, I think, probably in the complexity as well. Is that fair? Is it?
Yeah, I would agree. Yes, yeah, bit more complex, bit more to manage, I would say. A bit more to keep an eye on what other players are doing and manage what you want to do on your turn as a result of their turn.
But aimed very much, would you say, you've played Shoal, let's do something a bit more complicated as a little step up, still very family game, right?
Yeah, that's it. The aim of Flippers off the back of Shoal was not to make Shoal again. I didn't want to make a similar game, but I
Mm.
wanted to make it as approachable. So yeah, as I said, Shoal is creating your own separate things, and then you compare. Whereas this one, you're all getting stuck in the middle together. Could be quite mean at times, but yeah, there are some times where you really just screw yourself over, even though you think you have a master plan. It comes to bite you in the bum later on.
We like that. We like
I
that.
think I think the first review we had was a family, and I shared with Mike. They sent a message saying we just played our first game, and my 6-year-old is crying because his older brother has put a chain of events together to steal the fish right at the end and beat him. However, he wants to play again immediately, so that's a good sign.
Yeah,
So
perfect. It's that wanting to play again. That's what you're looking for.
yeah.
And yeah, I skipped over it quickly before, but you were saying on Shoal about the artwork, and the artwork is great there. But Paul, you were saying to me about the artwork for Flippers, right? The
Yeah.
illustrations are
Oh,
awesome.
I absolutely love the artwork on this. I think it's beautiful, and I mean, obviously, the route you go is very conscious decision, but I think in some games now you're seeing more AI generated art and stuff like that. So why did you choose? And I'm completely on board. It is the right decision, but what made you choose these kind of hand drawn pictures in the style you have?
So go
You
on.
go ahead, Lee.
I was going to say, as a publisher, um, we have a strict no AI artwork. No AI is involved in any of our kind of script writing or any of our games at all. I have used it in my professional career, and there are some times when I'm writing rule books, I think, oh God, I wish we could use this. But I think I have nothing against AI. I think it's going to do some wonderful things for our society and for humanity in general. But I feel as the running the publishing company, we don't just have a duty to the people at the end who are playing the game. But as you say, there's some great artwork in there. And Leva Mankus, who did the artwork, she's hand painted and hand drawn, and we've taken photographs out there. And so if we were to go down the AI route, people like Leva would not have a job. And so we feel as a publisher, we have a duty to support graphic designers and artists and marketing people and musicians and other people, because board games are artwork, and they are a piece of art if they're done correctly. And so I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I don't think at the moment we as publisher will use any AI. And when you see the artwork in this game, as you said, and there's some behind the scenes stuff. We've got a lot of images, and which we'll share in some updates. And I think Mike's shared some of that on the Kickstarter. You can see Lever at a desk painting some of the pictures. And it took we had the game wrapped up pretty much a long time ago, but we were waiting for artwork. And if we'd have used AI, we'd have had it in 2 minutes. But we were waiting, I want to say, close to 4 or 5 months for these artworks for 54 cards, because everyone is hand sketched, sent to us to approve, and then they go back to her, and then she inks them out, and then she paints them, and then scans them in. So it is a very laborious process, and I'll be honest, it's an expensive process for us as publishers.
Yeah.
But when you divide that out over 1,000 or 2,000 copies of a game as a print run, it's next to nothing. Well, it's not next to nothing, but it's not an excuse to use AI artwork.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what I'm getting at. We're never going to be millionaires from doing this, so let's support the community as we're going along and do the right thing. And then hopefully people like yourself, Paul, when they pick the game up, appreciate the artwork as well.
yeah. And it's something Tom and I talk about regularly on the podcast. Is sometimes it can be the best game in the world, but if it doesn't look good, it puts you off, doesn't it? It doesn't draw you in.
100%. 100% agree there.
And I think the artwork that you've got, especially in flippers, really kind of, at least for me, for my style, it engages, and I think like, right, my family would love this. It kind of ticks all the right boxes. So
I think you can tell the difference. I think you can still, there's some really good stuff out there, particularly when it's going particularly towards the like photorealistic. Then some of the AI images that are produced are great, but actually when it's a more kind of illustrated approach to believe you've tried to take here, it's nowhere near it if AI tries to create something like that right now. So you can just tell that it's just better for all of the reasons you described, Lee. But also, I think it just looks better.
Yeah, I think when we did Ocean Pods, I don't know how familiar you are with that game, the whales and dolphins game, and that's all watercolor artwork,
Mm,
which we had an artist do for us,
mm.
and so we kept the cards white, so it was almost like and obviously everything is telling you to make the cards ocean colored and then put the whales in the ocean, but we made the cards white, so it was almost like every card was a little framed piece of artwork on there, because the art was so nice. And I think once we published that game and once we kickstarted that game, and the feedback we got from the community was, oh, the artwork's drawn me in straight away. Once you see that, it's relatively easy then as a business owner to go, okay, this is pulling people in. It's worked for A, let's do it for B, let's do it for
Yeah.
C. And so I agree. I think you can tell straight away. There's a game on Kickstarter or GameFound at the moment that is very open about the fact that it's all AI generated. And as soon as I saw the advert, I was like, that's AI.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are casual gamers or people buying games as presents for people who might not recognize that and go, oh, the artwork looks great. So yeah, it is what it is. But I don't think we'll ever use AI in the foreseeable future, because you can tell the difference, as you said. And if something looks great, as Paul says, you get if we get eyeballs on our stand with great artwork, people come and see what it's about. But if
Yeah.
it's plain and ugly, people won't even give it a try. And in a very congested market, it's worth us creating something beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, draws people in. And just to say, I haven't played Ocean Pods, but seeing the images, knowing that we're going to speak to you in advance, those are fantastic on the white backgrounds. Maybe you've already done this, but you could have these blown up to be prints and sell those by themselves. They're fantastic. Yeah.
and
Okay.
I think you do see that. Like, I think Board Game Geek have got a Kickstarter of box art and things like that. And yeah, maybe you need to branch out and be going into galleries and places like that.
All the merch.
Aquariums.
It's yeah, exactly.
Aquariums, yes.
Aquarium merch. That's what it is. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, Flipper's running until May the 11th, and we'll do a quick reminder before we finish the session today, just so everyone knows how long they've got left on that. But upcoming is something a bit different, right? Something on the other end of the scale, I believe, with Time Troopers coming to GameFound in late June. Tell us about this exciting project. Lee, is this more of your question?
Yes. So this is my and Mark, the other co-developer. This is our baby that we've been doing for just over 3 years in the background. As you say, completely different game. Doesn't sit with our accessible, fun, family-friendly game. It's still accessible, but I would say it's more of a gamer's game, if you like. And this is a game that we've built because we wanted to play it, and then along the way, I think we've kind of stumbled into, again, something quite unique. So it's a solo-only game. which I know some people like, some people don't like. But we're unapologetic that there's a gap in the market for solo games. So we call it the Love Island test. So bear with me. So we say it takes 5 minutes to set up, 45 minutes to play, and then 5 minutes to pack away. So it's a solo game that you can play while someone else in your house watches Love Island. And we think there's a market for that type of game.
That's great. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that was a game that we wanted. So yeah, it's called Time Troopers. At its core, it's a deck building game where you start with a deck of troopers and accessories and time tokens, and it's a mission campaign game. So that you are building a deck of cards, fighting or stealthing or stealing, whatever the mission perimeters are for you to do, against the locals from that era. So it could be Vikings, it could be samurais, it could be dinosaurs or Egyptians, and you are having to go back in time to steal ancient artifacts because they're rich in dark energy, which help power the time gate. The reason we're trying to power this time gate is to stop things like global warming and famine and wars in the future. So you're going back in time to steal things to take back into the future to fix future problems. There's a rival faction trying to stop you. So it's very sci-fi, kind of Stargate-esque as well. The mechanics of the deck builder are, I would say, quite well. They're not really similar to anything, but the closest is maybe a Marvel Champions style.
Okay.
Combat with a bit of, I would say, Fallout with side missions and. So if you like those type of games, Arkham Horror, so if you like that type of stuff, there's things in there like that. It comes with a storybook, which has a choose your own adventure element to the missions as well. So Tom and Paul, you could both play the same missions and you'd start at the same point and end at the same point, but throughout the campaign, one of you may say, "Oh, I've got a samurai sword which I captured from Edo, Japan," and Paul might say, "Oh, I've got a Viking shield which I found on a longboat." Because you've gone different branches, you will have unlocked different cards along the way,
right?
And some of your troopers will go into the infirmary, things like that. So it's incredibly different from what we've done before, but we've taken inspiration from what we love to do, and this is the game we wanted to make, but kind of. You just don't go and make a game like this. You have to cut your teeth making smaller games first, learning how the board game industry works, who are the right artists and graphic designers to use, the manufacturers and the marketing teams and stuff like that. So we feel we've got that now, and the playtesting's gone incredibly well, and people love it. There's definitely a market for it. So now it's just a case of getting it to market, which we're really excited about.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a great little pitch. You've sold me completely. I have a feeling, Paul, this is going to be right up your alley as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of kind of solo player games, so I play a fair bit. Recently, Legacy of You was. We won't talk too much about other designers, but then you choose your own adventure. Tom and I both got a copy of War Story.
It's exactly what I was thinking, right?
And we've been, play a mission and then have a chat about what we did in the mission. So I can see us both playing this, and then which way did you go? Usually if it was me, I probably died quite early.
It's so difficult that game.
Wherever it is, but
yeah. Well, there's some cool mechanics in this as well. So if you do make the wrong choice because you're a time trooper, you can rewind time. So you can spend some of your time to do a re-roll or to undo your last move if it didn't work out. But you can only do that like once or twice because you're spending time as a resource, which means you can't then do something else in the future. So
a really good mechanic. That's a really clever way of.
It's going back to the previous save on the video game, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of every round, there's we all know about event phases at the end of the round. So this event phase, you have three cards which are drawn, and you have a D3 which you'll roll to decide which timeline you would follow, because they're the three possible timelines. And if you don't like the timeline that you're following, you can pause time and re-roll the dice. But again, you have to sacrifice your time tokens, which is like your currency of the game.
Right.
So if you do that, then you can't bring more troopers through the gates because you've used all of your energy. So we have played around with, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, when the theme and the mechanics fit together, that's where you become immersed in it rather than just feel like you're moving tokens around or cards around.
And this is very clearly a passion project, I think, from the way in which the excitement that you've talked about it. Is it, it is a bit of a departure from the other games that we've been talking about that you guys do. Can you see this becoming a line? Did you call it separate division within the business now, right? And this is the first of what you can see being many games of that more, if you like, gamer games in the future.
Well, now Mike's joined the company and I've groomed him into running the family side of the business. This is something which I want to do more of, definitely, but it takes so much out of you as anyone you spoke to, or if you've tried to do yourself. When you design a big box game, it's like the levels of multiples of how frustrated everything Mike feels. When you've got a bigger game, it takes so much longer and everything else. So when this has come out, I think we'll reset a little bit, but it
Yeah.
is something which we'll probably do. We have set up a separate division, so it's like the black division and the blue division. It's just a fancy way of saying the blue division is the family games, and this is what we may do once every couple of years. We'll work on something like this. Because obviously as a business, what we're doing is doubling our market, right? So we've got the family games income and then this. So we put our family games on Kickstarter and our Black Division games are on GameFound. And when you come and visit us at our stand at Expo, which you will do now, and so will all the listeners, then you, from the outside, you would see almost looks like two different stands. So you would have like the family stand and then the game stand. So it's something which I'm passionate about, and I love these games. And same as Paul, I think there's a growing market for solo games. So maybe that's a niche we can carve out. If people, same as we did with Ocean Pods, which lent to Shoal, which lent to Flippers. If people like Time Troopers, maybe we can do things about time. We can do an expansion, or maybe we can do another solo game similar to that and carve out. So people who like Time Troopers will then come back and buy the product from us.
And one of the very exciting things that you've told us about the Time Troopers campaign is that you've got a soundtrack, right? And you very kindly just gave us a little sneaky listen to it so we could hear what that was all about. And it is great, by the way. What's the importance to you of doing those extras, like having that part of what you're doing for a campaign like this?
So for us, the solo game, and for me, so I've been playing ISS Vanguard recently and Dragon Eclipse as well, and so I do like kind of big solo games, but I listen to music as I'm sure everyone else does when you're doing it. So what I was thinking about was we don't really have a lot of music in tabletop games. I know you do if you've got like a dungeon master or if you're playing role-playing games, but not necessarily normal games in inverted commas, because we just listen to our own music. So I was thinking, well, we have it in video games. We should do this. We should trial this, just like one track or one. And then as the game got bigger and bigger and bigger, I was like, it would be great if the mood, when you're in an Egyptian tomb, the mood music was for an Egyptian tomb. And then when you're on a Viking longboat in a battle, it's more like you can like the sound of the waves in the background and the thumping of the drums to echo like the rowing and stuff like that. And I think it increases the immersion. It doesn't change the gameplay experience, but what it does is sat there for that 45 minutes with those headset on while you're playing this game, you're fully escaped and immersed in that game. And that's what I love. And so as I've been explaining this to people, I can see as they're nodding along and smiling in the demos, I'm like, yeah, people love this as well. So it doesn't cost anyone anything else. And if people don't like it and it's not their cup of tea, fine. You don't have to listen to it. It's not going to give you any instructions or unlocks or anything else. It's just an added layer of immersion, sensory overload, which will help during the gameplay. So we've got a composer called Tim Clay. I think I sent you a couple of pieces of work over.
Yeah.
And Tim's great. Tim's it's a real passion project for him as well. And we've played the game. He's read all the mission books and he's come up with some great ideas of. He's built a bridge which he gets into every level. So even if it's Japan, the bridge will be there, but it will be like in a different kind of theme to what it will be in the War Drums for the Vikings. Yeah. And so that overarching kind of theme tune dropping in and out means it's recognizable by the person playing the game, but still well, we hope still cool and still immersive enough for them to get involved. The other thing about listening to your own music is as well, you know what you're listening to. So if we haven't got one, but if this was a horror game, for instance, we could put jump scares in there, which would scare you as the listener because you don't know what's coming. So imagine playing like a horror game where that's happening. Whereas if you're playing your own music, you know where the horror bits are.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a future for using soundtracks more, music scores more in tabletop games.
I think it's brilliant. It just is, hands rubbing together moments of that sounds absolutely fantastic. The nerds that we are maybe, but it's absolutely love it. I think it's a really smart addition to what you're doing, and you just don't see it. So, good for you.
But to give you an idea of how much this is like tick the boxes for us, so we're we're having our we're calling it our AGM. It's just an excuse for the four of us that record to get together, just the four of us, and play games for the weekend. But there's already been the discussion of, right, let's pick a few games we're definitely going to play, and then we'll put a soundtrack playlist for that game, that theme, because you're
Nice.
right, it works. And if games have their own soundtrack that work because it fits the theme, it's perfect because it's as you say, it's that extra level of immersion that, especially actually in a solo game, that you can kind
Yeah.
of take out those other distractions, because when you're playing with other people, there's the engagement with the other people in the game, but sometimes when you're playing solo, trying to get yourself kind of
The
focused on what,
focus, isn't it? Yeah.
not distracted.
Mm.
And the fact that
Yeah.
you're including it, I'm right. Yeah, it's just included in the game. It's not an extra add-on or, pay extra for this.
Yeah, we don't have any extra. So the Time Troopers comes with a playmat as well, which we were going to have as an extra add-on, and the music, but we just decided to charge. We want people to have the game that we want them to have. So we don't want people to not have the game because they
Yeah.
don't want to pay an extra $20 for a mat. So we just said, okay, it's going to be £50 and you get the game with 460 cards and the book and everything else, and you get the playmat and you get the music and you get everything, because that's what we want people to enjoy.
Yeah.
Rather than, we probably could have said, oh, £50 for the game and it's an extra £10 for the playmat and the music. But what's the point? We as I say, we're not going to be millionaires. We want people to have it and to enjoy playing it, and then come back and buy our next game.
Yeah, love it, and just really good approach to all these kind of things. It's good on you for all of it. Okay, just coming back to crowdfunding, because it's something you mentioned before, and it's interesting that you're saying that Time Troopers will be on GameFound, and Flipper's obviously currently on Kickstarter. Is there more to that? Is there a reason why you particularly take the decision for Flippers to be on Kickstarter, for example?
Well, there was two reasons. The first one is it was good training for Mike. So it was Mike's first time of running a Kickstarter campaign, and still is. And obviously, the fact he's fully funded is great, and he did a great job. And I think Kickstarter is much more accessible for people who know about crowdfunding. It's their go-to crowdfunding platform. Everyone knows what it is.
Right.
And all of our other Kickstarter games have been on there, like Ocean Pod. So it's relatively straightforward. If people are already following us, then they will find Flippers as well. And people know the brand and know who we are. Whereas we felt a better platform for Time Troopers was GameFound, because it is more of a I keep saying gamer, but I'm not sure how best it's, but it's more of a big box.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I would say it's more of a big box
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
Not like Kickstarter's not, because there's lots of big games on there. But I think on GameFound, maybe you guys disagree, I think people don't think anything of throwing $80 at a game on GameFound. Whereas on Kickstarter, I think $80, you've got a lot of competition on there for $80, whereas GameFound, that's probably one of the cheaper prices for a big box game.
Yeah.
So the market's there for us on there. The other thing as well is I don't know if you're aware of this, as a publisher, you can only run one campaign at a time. So
I didn't know that, really.
if we've not funded and if we've not captured everyone's details and fully sent all of the games out and closed off the Kickstarter campaign by the end
No,
of June, then we wouldn't be able to start another campaign to run.
really?
So
Wow.
running the two platforms side by side means we can run two games at the same time,
Right.
as well.
Interesting. Good knowledge. Right. Very good. What you're saying there kind of really reaffirms what we were told, Paul. Do you remember by the Crumbs guys about this?
Minerva,
yeah, is that the Kickstarter campaigns just give you that mass exposure. Like it's just such a broad platform. Like whereas the Game Found, people are going there who know about it. Like everybody's heard of Kickstarter. You say crowdfunding, that's what people think of, right? Whereas Game Found is that board game specific angle that so only the people who are really in the know go over there, right? That's what it is.
I think that's also, it's a bit technical, so sorry if this is boring, but there's GameFound are also letting you use their IOSS numbers and VAT numbers and things like that. So to reach a foreign market is a lot easier on GameFound than it is on Kickstarter. And the app, they've got the app now. Kickstarter are kind of catching up, but I think there's almost an arms race between the two now to make it easier for publishers and users, and which is great for us.
You definitely see that in what they do, and I think, am I right in saying it came from Awaken Realms, as it was?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's still the same business anymore, but you can see there's that experience in that specific industry is there in what GameFound do, right? So yeah, cool. And very hot topic in the board gaming community right now is the trade tariffs, right, which are being enacted by Trump in the US. We've seen Stonemaier Games very publicly announce that they're going to sue the president. And if you look at the comments on any crowdfunding campaign, pretty much at the moment, there's loads on tariffs. So I did want to ask you guys about what is the impact on your campaigns that you're running now and next. And if any of the planning you've had to do has been rapidly rethought in the last few months because of what's going on.
I'll take this one, but yeah, I can confirm we're not suing the US government as yet. Yeah, I think it's the uncertainty. So we don't know because it's. I think everyone is in the same boat. It's impossible to plan at the moment because it is so unpredictable from a political standpoint. Policies are changing very rapidly, and so what you could plan for today could be different tomorrow and then the day after that. And the ripple effects as well. So just before we came on this podcast, I was reading that the UK and EU are meeting in a couple of weeks to possibly reduce the barriers of trade again with dealing into the EU and make it so that we can start to be duty exempt again with EU like we were prior to Brexit. So it's in my lifetime, it's the fastest kind of changing market in terms of and that instability, that unstable market, it makes it really hard to do any business planning. So for flippers, it was relatively straightforward. It was a smallish campaign. We knew the majority of our market would be in the UK, so there was not really any tariff issues at all. But then it's kind of sad because we do have a lot of US customers, but we just open and honest with them and said, our games are made in China. The country of origin for flippers is China. So if we sell to the US, you're going to have to pay the tariffs technically as the importer because you're bringing this in. We don't know what that will be at time of departure, but you are legally responsible for it. And I think you can just be open and honest about the situation. Kickstarter and GameFound both have around 35 to 36% of the people that pledge are American. So it is a huge market that we're excluding by not shipping to the US. But I think it's outside of our control. So there's not much we can do about it. The people who still really want this product will still buy it.
Yeah.
Flippers is not a huge deal because it's a smallish game. So it's £18. So even if we were to add the tariffs on that, if someone really wanted a copy, it would still be, affordable for them. Even though we would double the cost for them with the tariffs, it's an expensive game, but it's still affordable if they really wanted to. What's going to be difficult for us and for other publishers is the bigger box games like Time Troopers, where at the minute we've got around 860 followers, and I'd probably guess that over 500 of those are American.
Yep.
And that was the case before the tariffs came into play. So we don't know what we're going to do yet. But at the same time, our campaign will start in June, so our fulfillment probably won't be till the end of the year anyway. And that's still another 8 months away. So we don't know what the world's going to look like in 8 months. So we're not panicking yet because anything can happen. Of course, it could be even worse.
Could all be solved by then, right? Couldn't it?
Yes.
So, you know.
But I think we're lucky that we're a smallish company, and we've not invested a lot of money into making Time Troopers. Sorry,
Right.
The artwork we've paid for and the game's ready to go. But let's say we had to pause everything for 3 or 4 years because this is our second jobs and it's almost a side company. We have that luxury of, okay, we'll do that then because we've still got other revenue streams coming in to keep us floating. We don't have large amounts of staffs and things like that. It's kind of the bigger companies that are getting hit the hardest, and I kind of feel for them because if they've already committed to large print runs and now all of a sudden they've got their margins in place and everything else, and now they're having to think about sending thousands and thousands of games to the US, it's there's going to be a lot of redundancies and a lot of kind of businesses struggle. But it also has a trickle down effect of games are being, I think a lot of games are being paused now. So the bigger companies and the medium companies, and so it trickles down to the artists, obviously, are not, as we talked about earlier with AI. So does companies pivot to AI to try and get that money back because that'll save them on the tariffs? The graphic designers, even event organizers like UK Games Expo and stuff, are they going to be hit? Because obviously there's not going to be as many new games coming out eventually, and then fulfillment companies and local board game shops. So it's not just publishers. I think it's the whole industry around it is going to suffer a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be quite interesting. And if I speak slightly selfishly, the hope is that it encourages actually more UK based games producers to get going and have the confidence to sort of fill the gap as well, if you like, because there is a demand there, right? And even before all of this chaos, there, if you buy a game that was not in any way UK based, the input and I'm trying to think of another way of saying postage and packaging. I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. Is it just costs you a fortune, the taxes and everything on top of it anyway. So from my own point of view of crowdfunding, I'm always kind of trying to look out for UK-based companies anyway. So, as I guess speaking slightly selfishly, but hopefully for you guys as well, it gives you the opportunity to maybe expand a little bit of what you're doing to meet that gap and need that may be created. Yeah, it's really interesting to see what happens, and hopefully it's resolved in a way that is not going to be damaging too many people's livelihoods, as you say, for the many people who will be involved in the industry overall. So we should probably let you go soon, because I think we said an hour, and as is always our way, we've definitely going to go over that. But at this point in the interview, we'd normally ask about what's next, but obviously it's something that we've talked about quite a lot. But is there anything else for you guys? Like, what's the future hold in years' time? What do you see as what you'd be talking about at that stage?
I'll let you go first, Mike. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, in a year's time, I'd love to have potentially a third game out of the pen and paper stage in a year's time. Something brewing that I haven't pitched to Lee just yet, but watch this space.
We'll push you for an exclusive. No, a bit too much of an exclusive. You haven't even pitched it to Lee yet. How about you, Lee? Where do you see? It sounds like an interview. Where do you see yourself in?
Hopefully we've finished and fulfilled Time Troopers. That'll be a good one to get out there, and I think that could potentially be take our small little company to the next level if that takes off, because it's obviously you make a bit more money from a bigger game than a smaller game. But also we're working on or discussing, should I say, a couple of licensing deals for foreign games, which we could bring to the UK. And what you were talking about before is trying to find partners in countries like Japan and the US, where similar companies to us, where we basically say we'll sell their games in the UK, they can sell our games in Japan, and there's definitely a market for that. So again, it's about that growth and keeping the revenue streams coming. But yeah, I think all of our focus at the minute is making sure Flippers is successful, and Time Troopers as well. That if that happens in the next 12 months, I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, nice.
I think from now is the path to the Games Expo. Everything leads to the Expo. They're ready for the big event of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys will be there. You say you have got a stand for, as you say, the split stand. We look forward to seeing that. Anything else you want to say about that at this stage?
Yeah, we're in hall 3, stand T26.
Right.
We're opposite Spiral Galaxy and Chaos Cards, who I know you're sponsored by.
Yes, nice.
Who gratefully stock our games as well, so that's good. So yeah, you'll definitely see us. Mike will be there demoing Flippers, so you can come and try and beat Mike at his own game, which a lot of people do. And and you and Paul are welcome to come and have a demo of Time Troopers as well.
We'd love to. Absolutely love to.
Get you sorted on that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. And what's on the table for you guys right now? That's always a question we like to ask. What are you playing right now, Mike? What's when you have got some space between, refreshing the Kickstarter campaign page? Like, what's what are you playing?
I am currently playing Deep Regrets solo
Are you?
at the moment. I am, yes.
How's that?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I met up with Judson at the last expo, and as soon as I saw it and with the artwork, and it was so eye-catching, and
so good.
I feel like I wasn't, maybe perhaps a month beforehand I had finished the video game Dredge, and then hot off of that I came across Deep Regret, and I was like, I'm in love. I love it. And then the more I learned about Judson, that he did all of the artwork himself and the whole campaign and the whole shebang. Absolutely mind-blowing.
That's so impressive.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I have as you can tell from Shoal and everything else, I have nautical interest, should we say. I went to study marine biology at uni. I used to work in like aquariums and things like that. So then coming across this and having the solo variant being you get to do an ocean survey. I mean, sign me up. Absolutely.
Our mate Dave has a copy, and I was having a look at it. We haven't yet managed to play it, but it just looks fantastic. What's in that box is they've done really well. So yeah, no, cool,
amazing,
very cool. And you, Lee, what's on your table at the moment?
I'm playing Dragon Eclipse, which is the new.
Oh, you were saying yes,
Awaken games, which is very good, very Pokemon-esque. If you've not played it, and yeah, my dining room table's split in half at the moment, which really my wife really irritated by. So that's on one side, and then I have ISS Vanguard also by Worker Realms on the other side.
That's a really good game. That's a great game.
Yeah.
Sold Paul on the fact it had folders in it, right, to keep track of it. your binders, right?
Well, we may have borrowed some of the infirmary actions from that game to Time Troopers, but I'll let you make your own mind up on that. For legal reasons, we definitely didn't. But, and then last night we were playing Godfather, old school game, which we really like, territory control game.
Right.
Yeah, that was good.
I know of it, never played it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then me and my wife are playing Planted, which is this afternoon, which is a very good game.
Great game.
But yeah, I've got a couple of Kickstarters I'm waiting for, like Sakana Stack. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Don't know that one.
So yeah, Sakana Stack. It's like a Japanese trick-taking game. Very good. I would definitely recommend people look out for that. So yeah, there's a lot of good independent games which you should check out at UK Games Expo as well. So there's a game called Fetching Feathers from Unfringe, which looks really good as well. So yeah, there's a lot of indie games. So anyone listening that's going to Games Expo, I would say as well as going and looking at your favorite games, try some of these indie games out, like ours, because they're so much fun.
You got to do it right. It's a massive part of going to the expo is going and doing those. It's sure, all too easy to just get caught up in the shopping at the big stands or just look at the big announcement games. But you're missing out if you don't go and do all of the independent stuff, right? It's
Well, even just a demo, like if it's not for you, it's not for you, but just go and try as many games as you can.
Yeah, definitely. So. Other than the expo, where can people find you? Social media, etc. What's the place to come and find out about Molinarius games?
So you can find us on molinariusgames.com. Obviously, you can go to Kickstarter and search for Flippers, and you can go to GameFound and search for Time Troopers. And you can see us on Instagram at Molinarius Games, and I believe Mike is at Board Game Peacock.
Board Game Peacock, yeah. If you want to bug me instead of bombarding Lee, you are more than welcome. I can answer all your questions.
Pitch Mike for all your ideas.
Really good. Okay, I think that just about wraps up. Lee, Mike, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's been really, really entertaining to speak to you guys, and great to learn a bit about your company and what you guys do.
Thank you. It's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Great pleasure. If you haven't checked out already, please do have a look at Flippers. The campaign will be running until Sunday, the 11th of May, until 6:30 p.m. British summertime. And of course, make sure you follow the Time Troopers campaign on GameFound. And we are going to keep keeping a very close eye on that as well, and look forward to that launching. Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great episode, that one, I think, Paul.
Yeah, I agree.
It was great to speak to Mike and Lee. They're such nice guys, and I'm a big supporter of the sort of games that they're producing, but also just their philosophy of everything they're trying to do, just all the way through. I was like, yep, makes sense, love it. There will be more interviews and extras as part of our new podcast schedule, so keep an eye out for those. And until next time, we've been the I'm Having My One podcast. And remember, everyone gets their one.
I'm having my one!